The internet is spiraling right now because somehow one simple question turned into the biggest street loyalty debate of the year. Would you let your friend do business with your enemy? And the way this whole Max B, Jim Jones, Dave East, and Milo situation exploded. You can't tell me this ain't one of the wildest, most unexpected plot twists in rap culture this month. And right when people thought the story was cooling down, it got 10 times worse without warning. But here's where it gets insane. The timing of everything is too perfect. It either feels like the most genius podcast rollout ever, or someone at the Let's Rap About It podcast is packing their belongings in a cardboard box and being escorted out the building tonight. The streets are calling this a setup, a rollout, a leak, a betrayal, a misunderstanding. Pick one, because everybody has a theory. So today we're breaking down exactly what happened, what was said, and why this is turning into a full-blown rap culture earthquake. Let's get straight into it. It all kicked off with that one question, simple on the surface, but heavy underneath. Would you be okay with your friend doing business with your enemy? The second Milo asked it, the whole conversation shifted like somebody flipped a switch. Then he hit them with the line that instantly blew up online. I can't go to the Max B party because you're my friend. That alone sent comment sections into a frenzy because people immediately took it as a loyalty test and a shot at street politics. Suddenly, everyone became an expert on friendship rules. Some folks said Milo was solid for standing on principle. Others said he was being dramatic, making a normal situation bigger than it needed to be. Nobody agreed, but everybody had a strong opinion, and that's when people realized this wasn't really about a party. This was about those unspoken lines between friends, the ones people don't say out loud but still feel in their chest. Milo wasn't trying to be messy. He wasn't picking a fight. He was just saying that if he's close to someone, he's not going to pop out next to somebody they're openly at odds with. To him, that's just basic respect, but the internet took that moment and turned it into a blown-up debate, acting like he started a cultural war instead of answering a question on a podcast. And that's exactly where the snowball started rolling. When Milo revealed he turned down the invite to Max B's welcome home party out of respect for Jim Jones, the internet didn't just react. It detonated. People treated his decision like it was some type of moral declaration carved in stone. Instantly, timelines split into two armies. One side praised him for moving with loyalty and sticking to his principles. The other side said he was doing too much, calling him dramatic for skipping a celebration that had nothing to do with him personally. But before anyone could settle on a real opinion, the universe threw the biggest curveball of the week. Because less than 24 hours later, Dave East popped up at Max B's dinner, looking relaxed, smiling, and completely unbothered, like the room wasn't filled with decades of tension. That moment flipped every conversation on its head. The same people who were blasting Milo suddenly pivoted to blasting Dave East, calling him disloyal, messy, and saying he crossed a line. Meanwhile, other people defended him just as hard, telling everyone they were reaching because Dave had never had beef with Max in the first place. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Dave East has history with Max. They've worked together. They've cooked records. So him showing up wasn't a betrayal and it was normal. But the internet doesn't do normal. The internet does drama. And it ran with this one like it was a championship game. Suddenly, the whole situation wasn't about a party anymore. It was about who moved like a grown man, who picked sides, and who the streets were going to label disloyal next. And that's when the conversation started spiraling out of control. The moment those photos of Dave East at Max B's dinner hit the internet, the city acted like they'd just uncovered a secret FBI file. Comment sections turned into interrogation rooms instantly, and people were treating Dave like he had to defend himself in court. His phone blew up non-stop calls, texts, DMs, all back to back. People demanded explanations like he'd done something illegal. They weren't asking casually either. They were pressing him like he owed them answers. Folks wanted to know everything. Why were you there? Did somebody force you? Who invited you? Why did you smile? Who were you sitting next to? Did you talk to Max? It got obsessive real quick, and through all of that noise, Dave kept repeating the same calm message. I'm cool with both of them. I'm not jumping into a beef that isn't mine. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't panicked. He was speaking like a grown man who understood his position clearly, but the wildest part was how fast the public switched up on him. Just days before, they were praising him like he was one of the few artists who stayed solid and grounded. Now suddenly they were calling him fake, calling him messy, calling him inconsistent, like they forgot his history with Max B overnight. That's how quick the internet flips when emotions get involved. One picture, one dinner, one moment, and people rewrite your whole character in real time. And the craziest detail in all of this? Dave wasn't even trying to make a statement. He genuinely thought he was just showing support at a welcome home dinner. He had no idea the internet was about to treat it like he pressed a big red button labeled "Start Drama Now." Just when people thought the drama couldn't climb any higher, the internet got hit with a nuclear surprise. A full, unreleased episode of Let's Rap About It suddenly leaked online with zero warning. The timing was way too perfect, and the whole city immediately started side-eyeing the situation like, "All right, who pressed upload?" The moment the audio dropped, everything stopped. People paused whatever they were doing, mid-shift, mid-meal, mid-argument, just to replay it from the top. Because the very first thing you hear is Dave East speaking in that calm, steady tone that tells you he'd been waiting to clear the air. And he didn't dodge a single thing. Dave broke down the dinner, his decision, his relationships, and the entire situation with the type of clarity that makes a room go quiet. No shaky voice, no hesitation, just firm, grown man honesty that hit harder than anyone expected. The craziest part? You could literally hear the room freeze in the background. It was like everyone in that studio realized they were witnessing a real moment. Not clout, not hype, not a storyline, but actual truth getting laid out with a whole chest. Dave explained why he showed up to Max's dinner without acting weird about it. He reminded people that he'd made music with Max, shared space with him, and never once had any smoke with the man. To him, the dinner wasn't a political move, and it was normal, respectful, and overdue. Meanwhile, the internet had been treating it like a betrayal. And hearing Dave break it down so calmly made people realize just how far the public ran with a narrative that wasn't even based on reality. But the wildest twist in the leaked audio? There was no anger, no blaming, just Dave explaining his side like a man who knows exactly who he is and refuses to get dragged into drama that doesn't belong to him. And that's exactly why that leak hit harder than anyone expected. Because it wasn't messy, it wasn't petty, and it wasn't rehearsed. It was real. And realness travels fast. The moment Dave East started describing the dinner, the entire internet leaned in closer. Because the way he told it, that room was nothing like a normal welcome home gathering. He said the second he walked through the door, the whole vibe felt staged, like someone had transformed a restaurant into a full-blown production set. Bright lights everywhere, phones up from every angle, cameras rolling non-stop like they were filming a documentary instead of serving appetizers, people whispering in corners, watching every move he made like he was the main character in a scene he didn't even know he was part of. And that's when Dave said it hit him instantly. Something about that energy wasn't natural. The room felt prepared, almost too prepared, like someone was waiting for a specific moment to capture, a specific shot, a specific angle that would flip the internet upside down. It didn't feel like a dinner. It felt like a setup for a viral moment. He said he knew right then that somebody in that room was planning to leak something. Not maybe, not possibly. He said it was obvious, because nobody films a dinner like that unless they plan on letting the world see it. When he explained this, you could hear Milo and Jim go silent. That silence said everything, because they knew exactly what he meant. Someone wasn't just celebrating Max B coming home. Someone was creating content. Someone wanted a headline. Someone wanted Dave East placed smack in the middle of a narrative before he even sat down. The craziest part is Dave walked in with peace on his mind, thinking it was going to be a low-key moment honoring a man's return after years behind bars. Instead, he walked into a room full of flashing lights and people lining up angles like paparazzi at an awards show. And that's when the entire situation stopped being about loyalty or dinner or music. It became crystal clear that someone wanted this moment to explode online. And they got exactly what they were hoping for. Before Dave East even stepped out the door to head to that dinner, the city was already buzzing about him. He said people were calling him hours beforehand, warning him like he was about to walk into a landmine. They were acting like he was entering a battlefield instead of a welcome home celebration. Folks were telling him, "Yo, this might come back on you." Or, "You sure you want to be there right now?" And Dave said he literally laughed because he wasn't beefing with anybody. He wasn't choosing sides. He wasn't trying to start anything. He was just showing love to someone who had just regained his freedom. But even with that mindset, the pressure kept building. People around the city started spinning narratives before he even picked out his outfit. Rumors were moving faster than facts, and once social media grabbed hold of it, the whole thing twisted into something bigger than the truth. And as soon as those dinner photos surfaced online, the pressure hit a whole new level. Dave described it like a siren going off, his phone buzzing nonstop, his mentions flooding, people hitting him from every direction demanding answers. It didn't feel like fans asking questions. It felt like interrogations. He said it was wild how people act like they own you the second a picture drops, like he owed the world an explanation for showing his face somewhere he had every right to be. That's how quick people will switch on you when they think they caught you slipping. But the part that really exposed how messy things were getting? Dave said people were reacting like he'd committed some kind of betrayal, like he walked into enemy territory with a flag in his hand, like he was disrespecting an entire city, when in reality, all he did was sit down for a dinner he was invited to. And through it all, Dave stayed solid. He kept saying the same thing over and over. He was cool with Max. He was cool with Jim and Milo. And he wasn't burning bridges over a problem he wasn't part of. That's when the whole room and the entire internet realized something. Dave East wasn't the one turning this into drama. The streets were, social media was. The people watching from the outside were the ones who pushed this thing into chaos. Because sometimes, the crowd wants beef way more than the people involved do. The deeper the conversation went, the clearer it became that this whole situation wasn't just about parties, dinners, or internet noise. It was about relationships, real ones, personal ones, the kind that don't need Instagram approval to exist. Milo made it clear that his bond with Jim Jones wasn't just industry level or music related. It was real life. This was family-type closeness, the kind where you've been inside each other's homes, shared meals, met parents, watched kids grow up. That type of connection hits different. So for Milo, skipping Max B's party wasn't a dramatic gesture, and it was instinct. If he's tight with someone on a personal level, he's not going to go stand next to a person they're actively at odds with. Not because he's scared, not because he's trying to impress anyone, but because loyalty to a friend outweighs the optics of looking neutral. On the flip side, Dave's situation wasn't the same. His history with Max B came from music, collaboration, early days grinding together. There was no beef, no tension, no weird past, just respect and a mutual understanding. So him showing up wasn't crossing a line. It was honoring a relationship that existed long before the current drama. That's when people started realizing something important. Two men can move differently and still both be right. Because they're operating from two different sets of relationships. Milo's loyalty was rooted in family-level ties. Dave's loyalty was rooted in years of creative history. Neither one was wrong, and they were just coming from different places. But the internet tried to merge both of their lives like they were playing on the same team under the same rulebook, which they weren't. And that's why this moment hit so hard. It exposed something people don't talk about often. Friendship comes with invisible boundaries, and each person draws theirs in different spots. For Milo, the boundary was showing up to that party. For Dave, the boundary didn't exist because the relationships didn't conflict. Two truths, two perspectives, two completely valid choices. And that's what made the situation so messy. Because social media hates nuance. It needs a villain. It needs a hero. It needs someone to blame. But in reality, this was just grown men navigating loyalty the way grown men actually do, with history, emotion, and respect, guiding the wheel instead of the internet. As the dust started to settle, something unexpected began floating through the conversation. A quiet realization that this entire situation might actually be leading towards something bigger than a dinner, a podcast, or a trending moment. Because underneath all the noise, people could feel a shift happening in real time. If Jim Jones and French Montana, two people with real documented history, could eventually sit down, talk it out, and squash a beef nobody thought would ever die, then who's to say the same thing can't happen between Jim and Max B? It sounds wild on the surface, but that's exactly how most legendary reconciliations start. With tension, confusion, and a moment that forces everyone to rethink where they stand. And after watching how the city reacted to Dave East popping up at that dinner, people started realizing something. The streets might actually be ready for that moment. The energy feels different. The conversations feel different. Even the older heads are speaking on it like the idea isn't impossible anymore. Dave East said it himself. He's been pushing unity for years. New York unity, industry unity, real-life unity. And he wasn't saying that as some PR slogan, he meant it. He wants the city to grow up with him, not stay stuck in old grudges forever. And here's where it gets even crazier, and you can practically see the next chapter forming. Max B is home. Jim Jones is outside, active, creating, working. Their circles are smaller, more mature, more focused. Time changes people. Freedom changes people. Loss changes people. So the idea of Max B eventually sitting across from Jim on Let's Rap About It? Not as far-fetched as it once seemed. In fact, it feels like the entire city is subconsciously waiting for it. One episode, one conversation, one handshake. And the internet would shut down instantly. That moment would break every timeline from here to next week, and Dave East unintentionally became the bridge. Not because he tried to be, not because he forced anything, but because he moved like a grown man. With honesty, clarity, and no interest in feeding the flames of old drama, his decision to communicate, to explain himself, to stay neutral but respectful, that's the kind of energy that pushes walls down, not builds them up. So now the question becomes, where does it all go from here? Is this the beginning of healing, or just another chapter in a long story the city refuses to close? One thing's for sure, the internet will be watching every move, every post, every room, every interaction, like it's a live TV series, because moments like this don't just fade away, they evolve. And when that next moment arrives, everyone will remember this week as the spark that started everything. So after everything, the dinner, the loyalty debate, the leaked audio, the internet meltdowns, the finger pointing, the think pieces, we're left with one final question that nobody can seem to agree on. Was Dave East moving smart, or was he moving reckless? Because depending on who you ask, he's either the most mature person in the room, or the one who lit the match without realizing there was gasoline everywhere. Some people say he handled it perfectly. They say he communicated like a grown man, kept it honest, and refused to let other people's drama drag him into a situation he never asked for. And honestly, there's power in that. Most folks sneak around and then act confused when it blows up. Dave didn't, but other people swear he should have stayed home out of respect for the relationships around him. They say the timing was messy, the optics were risky, and the internet was already on edge. To them, neutral isn't neutral if the whole world is watching. That's why this moment hits so hard, Yoni, because there's no clear right or wrong, just different loyalties, different histories, and different ways of navigating relationships in real life. So now it's your turn. Drop your take in the comments and let this discussion keep going. Because this isn't a story that ends when the video does. This is a conversation everyone's having at barbershops, on podcasts and group chats, and on every corner of the internet. And before you dip, make sure you hit that subscribe button for the Juicy Real channel. We've got more breakdowns, more deep dives, more behind-the-scenes chaos, and every unexpected twist this industry throws our way. And trust me, with the way this story is moving, this is just the beginning.